You're listening to Trek.fm.
Hello, Trek.fm listeners. This is the podcast From There to Here. Part of our celebration of Star Trek's golden anniversary, From There to Here is a daily podcast that brings the entire franchise to fans in just a span of 1 year. My name is Richard Marquez, and I'm here with
Caitlin.
And we're here to talk to you about 2 episodes, Treachery, Faith in the Great River, as well as In the Flesh. All right, here we go. Odo is contacted by Weyoun, who reveals that he wants to defect to the Federation. Meanwhile, O'Brien and Nog sail down the great material continuum. What did you think, Caitlin?
Oh, this is a classic Star Trek episode where there's an A plot and a B plot, and it was interesting watching on Netflix because the episode still has the original fade to black for commercials, and I was getting impatient anytime there was a commercial break. The A plot with Weyoun and Odo was really fascinating. I have to be upfront with my disclosure that I haven't seen Deep Space Nine from beginning to end, so I'm just seeing it in bits and pieces, but I can recognize the quality. But like a classic Star Trek episode, I wasn't that interested in the B plot. I was kind of bored with Nog's wheeling and dealing, and as exasperated as Chief O'Brien was, because I just wanted to get back to the good part of the story.
See, and you know what? I'm actually the opposite.
That's good. That's good. It's good we're paired together then.
Yeah, there you go. I actually, well, it's more of a personal attachment to this story. While Nog was wheeling and dealing, it reminded me of every supply sergeant that I had when I was in the Army, and just figuring out how they did it, it boggled my mind. And seeing this in work was just, it was like, wow, I wouldn't doubt it if they actually believe in the great material continuum. They materialize stuff out of like thin air, and it's like, where did you get this? Oh, I did this, I did that. I'm like, wow. I couldn't imagine juggling that many people and wheeling and dealing, as you said, at the same time. Now, granted, I did like the story of Weyoun and Odo, but I mean, I was leaning more to the Nog version of it. I was actually watching this recently and realizing that I had to do this podcast, and I'm like, oh yeah, what episodes do I? Oh, I'm watching it already.
Uh-huh.
So it's, yeah, definitely, this is one of my favorite episodes, mainly because of Nog. But yeah, watching the Odo and Weyoun part, it would have been very interesting if he would have survived, or like possibly even faked his own death. I mean, because they didn't ask for verification that he was dead either. They just saw him do his thing and try to commit suicide. So I don't know. Yeah. Would have been very interesting if he would have survived.
Yes, like there must have been some scenes that we did not see in the runabout, just because Weyoun went from he seemed unwilling to self-terminate right away, and then suddenly, like, you know, when all hope seemed lost, he was just willing to sacrifice himself to save Odo. So I don't know what happened between the two, that, you know, perhaps Weyoun was able to impart more information other than the changeling disease and the Great Link.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I don't have all the pieces to the puzzle that it's Deep Space Nine, but I can tell you right now that I already know as soon as 2017 rolls around, I'll make more of a commitment to watch Deep Space Nine from the end to the beginning, just because I'm so impressed with what I've seen so far.
Yeah,
and I know I'm seeing stuff at the end of the story too. It's just.
You would think that in the time while they're hiding in that giant piece of ice, that you would just hand it over a pad and just said, "Here, write down everything you could possibly think of." You might have. Well, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that wouldn't be very good television, though.
True.
You have to take it from a production point of view. It's like, oh, okay, what would make the most dramatic Weyoun dying in Odo's arms as Odo comes to grips with that he has to give a blessing. Yeah, that's more dramatic than here's a pad, here's my signature, it's my last, confession or whatever they call it, and
his
off I go.
debriefing. Yeah. Nah. All right. So our Voyager episode, In the Flesh. Caitlin, you want to take this?
Sure. So, In the Flesh is a episode from Voyager, and it is the return of species 8472. Initially, Voyager encounters a Federation subspace signal, and they track it down to discover a recreation of Starfleet headquarters. Things are not as they seem because it's 8472 training to impersonate humans, and they're planning for an invasion of Earth, thinking because the humans have already invaded their own territory in fluidic space.
Right, and we haven't seen shapeshifters first, have we? Or before, have we?
If you're on the Voyager timeline, no, this is the only time. But if you've seen everything, you've already are aware of the changelings.
Right, because of the Dominion War. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, what did you think of this episode?
Well, like you said, putting it in the context of, like, let's say no one watches Deep Space Nine or anything like that, this would be, I could see this being an episode where, it's like, okay, we've seen this before, but then again, if someone just watches Voyager, I mean, it's a change of pace. Watching this episode, later on after I started playing Star Trek Online, I didn't realize that the 8472 was becoming like changelings in the storyline, so I had to go back and rewatch Voyager because apparently I forgot about it. Mm-hmm. So this episode was, I mean, it brought more meaning to I guess Star Trek Online because of this story because they actually infiltrate Starfleet Command. I mean, of all places, to influence, I'm sure, the Alpha Quadrant. So yeah. But I liked the episode. It was really good.
Yeah, this isn't one of my favorite Voyager episodes. It's a Chakotay heavy episode. Sometimes that works, sometimes not so much. But it's like an interesting premise. Voyager encounters a simulation of Starfleet headquarters and have a mystery to uncover. I think what's more impressive is after the mystery is uncovered and the answers are in front of them, 8472 is doing this out of a place of fear and desperation, and Janeway has to avoid starting another war with them. So this last scene in the briefing room is probably more impressive than any of the scenes done at the fake Starfleet headquarters, just because it all comes down to trust. She's willing to blink first if it means not firing any weapons and starting a war. So that is more the take-home message for me, rather than, Chakotay goes on a date and ends up, uncovering a 8472 plot. So
not like a boxing story or anything like that, just a straight up Chakotay story.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, that does it for us on these two episodes. Caitlin, if anyone wants to find you on the internet, where can they find you?
Well, I've been making more of an effort to post in the Babel Conference on Facebook, and on Twitter, I'm tweeting under Walsh Caitlin. That's my last name, first name. Awesome. And Richard, what about you?
Awesome. Well, they can find me all over the Babel Conference as well. My Twitter handle is actually xransom, just like how it's spelled. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you tomorrow with once more Onto the Breach and Once Upon a Time. Thanks for listening.